AEM 21-702C and 21-702P air intake systems are engineered to add horsepower and reduce restriction compared to OEM air intakes, and they come with a lifetime limited warranty. These AEM air intakes utilize a large reusable dry flow air filter. This oil-free filter is durable and very easy to clean. AEM 21-702C and 21-702P air intakes fit 2012 Ford Focus models with 2-liter engines. See the AEM catalog or aemintakes.com for up-to-date model details. This air intake system is not legal for highway use in California or other states adopting California emission standards. Check aemintakes.com for up-to-date information on emissions legality for specific parts on specific vehicles. AEM power testing showed an estimated full horsepower gain at 5,200 RPM with this air intake installed on a 2012 Ford Focus with a 2-liter engine. Actual results will vary depending on the condition of the vehicle, mileage, weather, and other variables. Here's a comparison of the Focus sound on the dyno with the stock OEM system versus AEM's air intake. AEM air intakes come with detailed instructions with pictures and diagrams. AEM intakes are engineered for specific vehicles to produce a safe horsepower increase. Preparing the vehicle. Make sure the vehicle is parked on a level surface. Set the parking brake. If engine is running the past 2 hours, let it cool down. Disconnect the negative battery terminal. Raise the front of the vehicle with a jack. Refer to your owner's manual for proper jack and jack stand placement to properly support vehicle. Support your vehicle using properly rated jack stands before wheel removal or while working under the vehicle. Do not discard stock components after removal of the factory system. Removal of the stock system. Loosen the hose clamp that secures the intake tube to the throttle body. Lift up on the red locking clip and unplug the MAF sensor. Unplug the wire harness clip securing the harness to the MAF sensor bracket. PCV hose number 1 is located at the top of the intake tube. It has a blue colored locking mechanism. Disconnect it. PCV hose number 2 is located at the top of the intake tube. It has a gray colored locking mechanism. Disconnect it. Pull the intake tube off of the throttle body. Unfasten the rubber air inlet strap securing the airbox to the front of the vehicle. The airbox is mounted to 3 rubber grommets. Pull the airbox up and out to dislodge the airbox from the grommets. Remove the airbox assembly from the vehicle. Loosen the hose clamp securing the intake tube to the MAF sensor. Remove the intake tube from the airbox assembly. Remove the 2 8mm bolts that secure the MAF sensor to the airbox. Use a panel popper or flat screwdriver to remove the front cover on the bumper. Place the tool in between the bumper and cover. Use a towel or some masking tape on the bumper and cover to prevent scratches. Carefully pop off the cover from the bumper. From under the car, remove the 2 T25 Torx screws. Remove the plastic clip closest to the wheel. Remove the plastic clip securing the fender liner to the lower front side of the bumper. Pull down the corner of the belly pan to gain access to the inner bumper cavity. Installation of the AEM intake system. When installing the intake system, do not completely tighten the hose clamps or mounting hardware until instructed to do so. Install the hump hose with a number 40 hose clamp on the throttle body side and a 44 hose clamp on the intake tube side. Install the upper intake tube. Align the intake pipe and connect both PCV hoses. Tighten the number 40 hose clamp on the throttle body side of the hump hose. tighten the number 44 hose clamp on the hump hose on the intake pipe side. Through the opening exposed from the bumper cover removed in step 2M, loosen the 13mm nut on the chassis. Install the coupler onto the middle intake tube and secure it with the number 40 hose clamp. Guide the middle intake tube down into the engine bay so the end with the coupler is positioned on the lower end. Mount the intake bracket onto the stud where the 13mm nut was loosened in step 3G. Hand tighten the 13mm nut to sandwich the intake tube bracket between the chassis and the 13mm nut. Install the 2.75-inch to 3.25-inch coupler onto the MAF sensor. Slide a number 44 hose clamp and a number 52 hose clamp onto the coupler. Install the 2.75-inch to 2.5-inch coupler onto the bottom side of the MAF sensor. Slide a number 44 hose clamp and a number 40 hose clamp onto the coupler. Mount and secure the bracket to the MAF sensor housing using the provided socket head bolts and 4mm washers. Tighten the socket head bolts using a 2.5mm Allen wrench. Orient the MAF sensor assembly as shown and attach to the upper and middle intake tubes. Secure the bracket attached to the MAF sensor housing to the vehicle's frame using the provided 10mm bolt and washer. Slide a number 40 hose clamp onto the middle intake tube's lower coupler. Attach the AEM air filter onto the lower intake tube using a number 44 hose clamp. Pull the belly pan down to gain access to the inner bumper cavity. Attach the lower intake tube to the middle intake tube coupler. Orient the intake tubes and air filter and ensure the entire assembly has adequate clearance. Reach down into the engine bay and use a box wrench to tighten the 13mm chassis nut to secure the middle intake tube. Connect the MAF sensor extension harness to the MAF sensor and engine wiring harness. Secure the MAF sensor extension harness with the two provided zip ties to prevent the wire harness from moving around. Ensure all hose clamps are tightened and secure. Reinstall the front cover and belly pan. Reassemble the vehicle. Position the inlet pipes for the best fitment. Be sure that the pipes or any other components do not contact any part of the vehicle. Tighten the rubber mount, all bolts, and hose clamps. Check for proper hood clearance. Readjust pipes if necessary and retighten them. Inspect the engine bay for any loose tools and check that all fasteners that were moved or removed are properly tightened. Reconnect the negative battery terminal and start the engine. Let the vehicle idle for 3 minutes. Perform a final inspection before driving the vehicle. It will be necessary to check AEM air intakes periodically for realignment, clearance, and tightening of all connections. Failure to follow the above instructions or proper maintenance may void warranty. Go to AEMintakes.com to find products, download installation instructions, view dyno charts showing estimated horsepower gains, and for other product details.